Supply the missing data in the following cases. Each case is independent of the others. Let's begin with case 1. The first thing we'll solve for is direct labor. We know our total manufacturing cost equals direct material plus direct labor plus manufacturing overhead. And we can solve then for direct labor and we get $9,000. Next we'll solve for ending work in process. We know our total manufacturing cost of $18,500 plus our beginning work in process of $2,500 has to equal our ending work in process plus our $18,000 in cost of goods manufactured. We get $3,000 for ending work in process. Next we can solve for our goods available for sale, which is simply our beginning inventory plus our cost of goods manufactured. Then we can solve for our ending finished goods inventory. That's simply going to be the difference between our cost of goods sold and our goods available for sale. We get ending inventory of $2,000. Finally, we can solve for our selling and administrative expenses. That will be the difference between our $13,000 gross margin and our $14,000 in net operating income. For case number 2, we'll begin by solving for our total manufacturing cost, which is simply our direct material plus direct labor plus our manufacturing overhead. Our second step will be to solve for our beginning work in process. Again, we have our beginning work in process plus our manufacturing cost has to equal our ending work in process plus our cost of goods manufactured. Setting up our equation and solving, we get beginning work in process of $2,000. Our goods available for sale is our third step, which is simply our beginning finished goods inventory of $2,500 plus $14,000 in cost of goods manufactured from above. Next, we can solve for our cost of goods sold, which is simply our cost of goods available for sale, $16,500 minus the $1,500 in ending finished goods inventory. If we have sales of $21,000 and cost of goods sold of $15,000, this means our gross margin is $6,000. Once we subtract our $3,500 in selling and administrative expenses, we arrive at a net operating income of $2,500. In case 3, we'll begin by solving for our manufacturing overhead. And we do this simply by setting up our equation that our total manufacturing cost equals our direct material plus direct labor plus manufacturing overhead. We find manufacturing overhead is $8,000. Our cost of goods manufactured then is simply our beginning work in process of $3,000 plus $20,000 in manufacturing cost minus the $4,000 in ending work in process. Our cost of goods manufactured is $19,000. This will get carried down below. Let's move on for step 3, which doesn't have to be our step 3, but let's go ahead and solve for our selling and administrative expenses. This is simply the difference between our $17,500 gross margin and our $5,000 net operating income. Our selling and admin expenses are $12,500. Moving up, our fourth step then will be to solve for our goods available for sale. Our goods available for sale has to equal our ending inventory of $4,000 plus our cost of goods sold, which is $18,500. Goods available for sale is $22,500. Next, we'll pick up our cost of goods manufactured from above, which was $19,500, and this allows us as a last step to solve for beginning finished goods inventory, and we get $3,500. In case number 4, let's begin by calculating our total manufacturing cost, which is simply, again, our direct material plus direct labor plus our manufacturing overhead. Our second step will be to solve for our beginning work in process, and we do this again by setting our beginning work in process plus manufacturing cost equals our ending work in process plus our cost of goods manufactured. Solving for beginning work in process, we get $4,500. The third step will be to pick up our cost of goods manufactured from above, that's our $17,500, and that will allow us then to solve for our cost of goods sold. Our cost of goods sold will simply be equal to $16,000. That's because our beginning inventory of $2,000 plus our $17,000 in cost of goods manufactured has to equal our ending inventory plus our cost of goods sold. Finally, we can solve for our gross margin, and that's going to be our $40,000 in sales minus our $16,000 in cost of goods sold. we have a gross margin of $24,000. And the difference then between our gross margin of $24,000 and our net operating income of $9,000 will be equal to our selling and admin expenses, which will be $15,000.